Live.
Hi, everybody. This is Debbie from Spooky Things. Um, we've got our new format going here, and now we're going to be visual as well as audio. Um, Still trying to work all the kinks out to it over here, but I think it's pretty cool. And now I'm going to be able to see things better, see comments that are going on, see who's coming on, and it'll. I think this is going to be a really, really good thing. I'm excited about it. Everybody, this is Devin.
Hi.
Hi. Devin is my son, one of my sons, and we've done a lot of research and stuff together as well. Devin was pretty much raised in the household, and really, I mean, weird things have been happening all of our lives.
The hallway when we were kids, you can always hear the at night. You hear the sounds of people running as kids. We'd be running down up and down the hallways by the French double doors
Yeah.
that we
Hmm.
had. Yeah, you'd always hear them running up and down the hallways, and all kinds of stuff would happen. You just kind of grow up around things like that, and it's just everyday life.
Well, the weirdest thing in that house was that the furniture would get moved.
Or the in the
The
kitchen,
silverware.
the drawers opening and things, or the
Yeah.
one time that all the silverware was taken out.
Yeah, remember it just flew out all over the
And it was
place?
like during an argument or
Yeah.
something like that. Or in Pops's office sometimes he would either smell perfumes or the curtains. He always complained about he'd feel cold or he'd feel
Yeah.
something, and then the blinds and things would start to move on and things like that used to happen a lot. He used to blame it on the spooky things you brought into the house. So I will
I
admit
could
you
have.
brought a lot of spooky things into the house.
Actually, there was a lot of spooky things already in that house. And every time I tried to explain it to to your dad, it'd be like, oh, no, no, no. Like the time that all the furniture got moved, he comes running into the bedroom and he wakes me up. He goes, "What'd you do?" I've been sleeping. He goes, "You got to come out here and see this."
Hey, but these things just happen.
But, it was like
You
I
actually see a
can't.
lot of videos today of people posting TikToks, or sometimes you gotta some of these things. I guess I'll use I'll use something here with like where a very very small percentile of these things are real.
Hmm.
The rest are all a bunch of hocus pocus. But that
Yeah,
small little percentage that is real, that you look at that and you go,
yeah,
okay, there's no there. I can't explain that.
yeah,
And you have these video people that the analysis is, these guys will sit down and they'll look at this and they'll go, okay, well, this is not edited, this is real raw video and we can't explain it either, so this is something we're looking at. It's just like, yeah, that's that small percentage of things that are real. And
yeah.
that stuff terrifies me, I can tell you that.
Well, it's the lack of understanding, which is what's going to, we're going to talk about that tonight. About there's a lot of differences here, and people mistake a lot of what's going on. I'm trying to adjust this here, you guys. Ugh, okay,
If it all of a
I don't think
sudden
it
just
really worked real well. Yeah, if you guys go forward, I'll take care of it. But there's a lot of different terminology that people make, and the terminology paranormal, supernatural, preternatural. These are all things that they're used very frequently, and you know what? They're all different, and
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of people don't know that. A lot of this stuff it's different. Um,
Got haunted houses, haunted woods,
it's true. It's true, and
haunted high schools.
look who goes to them. Half those kids are dabbling in something. How many times do we get a call saying, "Oh, you've got to come over to our house. We've got a problem here." And the first thing I say is, "Do you have any teenagers?" Yep. Well, are they female? Yep. We're getting closer because they're dabbling in things that they shouldn't be dabbling in.
Meddling things that ought not be meddled in.
That is exactly right. And you know what? We've all been kids, and we've all done things like that, and well, some of us not quite to that extent, but um, unfortunately, kids seem to understand after a while of meddling into something they shouldn't be meddling into. Hey, we've got a problem here,
Big time.
and
Well, it becomes everybody else's problem then.
exactly, that's when we start getting calls.
Then
So
it becomes opportunities. Hey, let's go check it out.
let's go see what shenanigans they've gotten themselves into this particular week.
Most people are like, nah, dude, I'm not doing that. No, I'm just never going to do that. But we're like, you know what? We'll pack up today. We can be there by.
Right. Remember we were talking we were talking about we're kind of like firemen. When everybody else is running out of the building, the firemen are running in. That's kind of like us. It's like everybody is running out of the house and we're the ones that are walking in going, what's going on?
The priest is walking out, putting up his robes, holding on to a Bible, and we're like, we'll see you later, buddy. Let's go check this
If
out.
a priest comes out putting up his robes, he's like, I'm not going in there.
Well, you know how I don't know. Just me. I feel like kind of insulted that I'm walking out and I see somebody else walking in with a video camera. I'm offended. Highly offended. I mean, hey.
This. Well, yeah. It's funny,
on.
but
yeah.
Moving on.
So.
Or when you got a whole house full of people who are supposed to be doing an investigation, and you're the poor slob that owns that house, and the so-called team that's going in there is running out of your house screaming,
or at least members of it.
Like, I mean,
we're down 3 people, but listen, we've got 2 more in here. They're holding strong. We're pretty sure they can do this for at least another 15 minutes until we can figure somebody else out to replace them.
These are things that you don't want to have happen. Please get an experienced team in there.
Now you'll get some pretty diehard people out there though. They don't care what's going on.
Yeah,
hi,
exactly.
Buddy. How you doing, bud? Hey, so we're on doing something really important.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Check this out.
All right. So what we're going to do tonight is that we're going to talk about those differences with the paranormal. Like, for instance, we think that paranormal and supernatural are interchangeable. It's things that you can't explain rationally. You can't really accept science into it. There's a whole lot more to it than that.
Try to accept science into everything.
I do too.
I brush my teeth with science in the back of my mind and in my heart. I brush my teeth to it. I wake up and literally brush my teeth.
Now, how does that work for you?
Every day. It's just motivation to continue questioning everything around me, including the government.
I was just thinking about your teeth.
Fluoride and stuff. They lie about all kinds of things.
Yes, they do. Paranormal refers to the idea that there are phenomena that occur that we just can't explain yet. But I mean, there's some amazing teams out there that are doing
God's work.
Yeah, they are, and they're doing a heck of a job. The word paranormal, actually, it basically means something that exists outside of what we consider to be normal, as we know.
I mean, when your lights are flickering on and off, it's one of 2 reasons. Either you didn't pay your electric bill or there's some funky things going on in your house, fam.
Or mice. Remember, mice have caused that problems with us before. Or your flipping hamster that got out of the cage for, 2 months?
You know, it's funny things about hamsters is that you guys went from getting hamsters to gerbils thinking that there'd be any kind of a difference between the 2 escaping.
There's not.
One was faster than the other. Let me tell you.
One was bigger.
And quicker. And I think that's probably what we ended up hearing running around in those ducks later in life.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we couldn't explain why there was the sound of something running up in the ducks.
Oh, yeah, it was furball. There's no doubt.
It was the runaway hamsters and gerbils we lost over the years.
Moms, let me tell you right now, when your kids say, I want a hamster, don't do it.
Hey, I now know.
Those things can live for months in your walls.
I've got my son on puppies right now.
Oh, we don't need that either.
Puppies.
We got enough puppies.
Puppies.
But there are plenty of things that have been once considered paranormal phenomena that we can explain it with science now. And it's
or at least try to make an understanding.
no, I mean
using
this actually
sciences.
can be it can be explained now. For instance, um, platypuses.
Hmm.
Everybody thought this was some strange animal that unexplainable. I mean, it's like 5 different animals in one. Guess what? They really do exist. So, that's not a paranormal thing. It's an actual animal. Just like one day Bigfoot,
Oh
I
man.
personally consider it's going to be explained one day. We just it's considered cryptozoology right now because it can't be explained now, but it will be one day.
Hopefully, it's not just Brutus in the jumpsuit.
Oh, half of them are.
Case of Bud.
Case of Bud will get you a lot of Sasquatch sightings.
I'm
Let's
going
face
out in
that.
the woods and making howling noises, y'all.
This is something
Bud.
in research that I found out, and this is interesting. Bird migration used to be considered paranormal
How so?
because they could not explain where all the birds went. telling you, I'm telling you the truth.
There to be in the sky a bunch of blackbirds. It's an omen.
But
It's
where
an
did
omen.
where did they go? They couldn't explain it. And it was actually considered paranormal. The birds all disappearing and then but they're back. Because they didn't understand the science of it. They didn't understand migration
Seasons.
and this is what can cause that. So these are things that it's like we can't explain it yet. It would be paranormal.
Well,
But
if you're hanging out at your house, you start hearing at your door and you answer and there's nothing standing there. Yeah, I would want an explanation for that somehow. Some way, somebody's got to make sense of that.
yeah,
If
and
something
we've
made
always
contact with my door and made a noise that I heard and said, "Hey, fam,
exactly.
who's at my door?" and you answer it, it ain't nothing but the wind going, "Loser." I want an explanation for that.
I'd want an explanation for that.
I'm just saying.
But this is what I thought was funny was back years ago, the in the medieval days, they talk about duck trees.
Duck trees.
Duck trees.
I need to hear about this.
Okay. The duck trees were the trees where the ducks magically appeared. I'm not kidding with you. I'm not kidding with you. And
If you stand right here, look upon that tree, a duck shall appear before your very eyes.
It's just a duck.
It's just a duck, though.
It comes from the duck tree.
Don't touch it.
I'm not even kidding with you guys.
That's really cool, though.
This is cool because they could not understand the migratory paths.
Mm-hmm.
So they would look up one day and there's ducks in this tree. And evidently it's where the ducks just always went coming back from the migratory paths. They hang out around this tree and became the duck tree. So
God bless hunter gatherers.
God bless them. So, I mean, it sounds really silly and weird to us now, but back then they didn't have the knowledge. They could not understand migratory paths. So that's how duck trees got to be. So I thought that was kind of cute. I really thought that was kind of cute. Things that are supernatural can never be explained by sciences. It just simply cannot be explained by sciences. Um,
I'll tell you, I've seen some things can't be explained by
exactly,
sciences.
exactly. So we need to. Paranormal means these are things that cannot be explained right now, but there's a very, very good likelihood that it will be able to be explained in the future due to more research and studies. Supernatural things can never be explained by sciences, and
I feel like maybe if it's something that can't be explained, that is something that really should be explored. When something can't be explained at all, it's like, hey, if that's something that's so far beyond an explanation, maybe some things like that are worth exploring.
oh, absolutely.
Really
absolutely.
bending research.
It's really cutting edge because I mean, just like anything else. And this goes really deep. This is such a broad subject, as we're about to see as this goes on. It's such a broad subject because it encompasses so much. And I mean, it's just, when we really get into it, we're like, wow, this is amazing. Um,
When I really started digging deep into, I should say, remember we were talking about dimensions and things like that
yeah,
way back.
yeah.
It was last year. We were talking about that. When I really started, for a while there, digging deep into rabbit holes. Um, Something I looked on, this might be a little bit off topic, was like the last ice age. And that's like a subject that's really interesting if you start looking at like the explanation of the last ice age.
Hmm.
And my mind started to wander. I'm like, well, we're pressing on dimensions. Let me start getting off that subject, the last ice age, start bending into dimensions. And I loved one of what was it we were pressing on, was like, what was that individual's name? He was studying the mind, and where he started saying, okay, well, if you focus your mind enough, that you're able to like make like a direct contact with something that's far out there.
Uh-huh.
And I started really like diving really deeper in dimensions, and man, there is just some really crazy explanations
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
for these things. And I guess you could start saying something similar on like supernatural, where they're like, okay, this can't be explained, where dimensions, that's something that's really crazy out there of a subject. That's probably something that could be considered supernatural, right?
Um, well,
Maybe.
it could be to well, as it says, it's the realm of paranormal that includes things that we might one day understand. We might one day and be able to duplicate in a scientific study or setting.
I would really love somebody to explain why little Sarah was able to make a bed float up in the air and scare a whole room of
I
people.
would too. 'Cause that's pretty amazing.
We bought that bed at IKEA.
Yes,
We built it ourselves.
but yet it's 3 inches off the ground. But um, things that include faith healing. That's hard.
That, yeah.
Um,
Thinking about a situation so crazy it involved
yeah.
something like that. My lord.
Um, telepathy,
Mm.
telekinesis, clairvoyance.
You find telekinesis or those kind of situations in like certain types of close encounters, where or even certain DMT trips, where
Yeah.
people, I'm not speaking from it, I don't mess with things like that, but let's say I have seen where they talk about it and they say, man, like when you're communicating with something like that, it's not like you're sitting there having a conversation like you would like this. It's something that it's being sent back and forth. It is like some higher level
Yeah.
of communication, where it doesn't need something to be written down to explain this communication. It's being sent back and forth, mind to mind.
Right.
That's wow.
And there, I mean, the more work that they do on things like this, I honestly do think that they are going to eventually figure this out. And we're seeing breakthroughs in it already,
We're advancing.
quickly, quickly. Um,
I'd say slowly, because it kind of seems like it was advancing, and then kind of like maybe a little bit. If you think about from the early 1900s till now, the way technology was like,
right.
there's major advancements, and then like this weird steady just kind of standstill, then crazy advance. I kind of think like even with our cell phones and everything, we are still really advanced, but still kind of like at a standstill.
Right.
We're starting to start peaking back up again, you know, especially look across seas with what the cutting technology that China puts out. I
It's
mean,
pretty impressive.
oh my lord,
It
some of the things
honestly is.
that's like I said, bending research. Go back on with the yeah, with the supernatural. I know things that we've been through as far as that hotel,
Yeah.
the portals.
The portal. There you go. That's something that that is more of a paranormal type of a thing.
Especially when you're capturing it here and you're looking and you don't see anything other than a normal room, but you're looking at something that's picking up this
Right.
crazy, and you know what you're looking at, going, that is abnormal as can be. It's I am reading data.
Right.
It is pulling it. It is there, but you're looking and you cannot see it. It's like there's this.
Yeah.
Your
It's
brain
like, why
is
is it
not
here, but it's
computing
not
it.
over here?
Yeah, you're not.
Man, that just doesn't make any sense.
Almost like it's being hidden from you. Like it's
Yeah.
not. You're not supposed to realize it's there.
But they're making such advances with these black holes. They're making really huge advances with it, and astronomers today are capturing things that at one period of time was nothing more than science fiction.
Oh man, some of the telescopes you can buy for your backyard.
Exactly. And I mean, they're coming up with things that it's like, okay, so now we know that black holes exist.
1,000%.
1,000%. We know that they
Captured
exist.
it on pictures. And that was that.
So, when we take of what's going on with the black hole, which, the general public was like, that there's no such thing. We do know that there is such a thing now.
And not just such a thing, but the fact that almost every galaxy is like governed by a massive one somewhere,
Right.
like our very own. All of them have this super massive one somewhere at the center of it, or even some that have these things called clusters.
Yes.
There's multiple of these things in there, and it is
a
just
collection of
oh
them.
my lord, there's a whole bunch of them. And
So where are they going to, though?
In my mind, it says you cannot just have something go nowhere.
Right.
In my mind, nothing can exist. Nothing.
Well, it's not just going to disappear.
It's got to go somewhere. You can't just have something sitting there swallowing everything up in its path, and it not doing something like, let's get on camera, something like I don't know what I'm doing here. Something like this, where you got one taking it and then it coming somewhere else.
Right.
Kind of parallel, if you would.
Right.
Only thing that makes sense to me. And let's say if it's not this close, well then maybe it's a little bit like this.
Right.
Where it's got to travel. You never know. Who knows, man? Who knows? That's the beauty of questioning everything.
It is.
That's the beauty of it.
What's even more beautiful is when you find an answer to it.
And you're like, Eureka!
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I do. So this is where we're kind of at today, though. I think that we're just so, in so many areas, we're so much on the edge of that Eureka thing.
Man,
we're so much. I mean, in 50 years, what we're talking about right now would just be common knowledge. Very, very much so.
That's cool to think about.
It is. But also, when you're talking about paranormal, the cryptozoology would be considered paranormal because of the fact, like of the examples, the giant panda, the giant squid.
The giant panda?
Mm-hmm. The giant panda. People didn't think there was such a thing as a giant panda.
I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
A giant panda. Something you just want to run up and go.
I wouldn't do that. They're cute, but
stupid Uman.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
No.
But yeah, giant pandas were at one point just things in fairy tales. Giraffes were things in fairy tales. I mean, nobody would have thought about an animal that big with a long neck. And there are stories written of animals like that.
A mammoth. Maybe people didn't believe in no mammoths until they finally started digging up these massive things and going, holy crap, that's a mammoth.
Things that can be, but the giant squid is like, for years and years and years, they talked about these huge octopus or squids, and they could, grab a man and pull him down, and they were like, no, they don't get that big.
They do.
They do.
Back in the day, early YouTube days, they caught, I think it was BP or Shell, that one of their underwater oil, I don't know, some one of their rigs down there actually ended up capturing one on camera.
Yes.
And it was the biggest thing, made headlines everywhere.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah, it was massive. And
what was it, like the cone, just the cone of it itself
it
was
came
like
up
6
and it was
foot?
like, it's massive.
It was just huge.
I think they actually
36
recovered.
foot long. I think one tentacle was like
You
36
got me
foot
on
long.
that.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I
It
mean, we
was
could pull it
huge.
up. We might be able to look it up, but we're not Joe Rogan. I have to go pulling these things up. Charlie, look on that. No, we're not. I don't even know if the guy's name Charlie. I really don't.
I don't know either.
I'm just babbling.
But basically, what we're talking about, guys, everything that we've just discussed here, that's paranormal. All that is paranormal because it's something that we very well could explain scientifically, like Bigfoot,
Mm-hmm.
Loch Ness monster. I don't know, but maybe one day it can be explained. I still think Loch Ness monster is one of those huge eels in the loch that they have there.
Who knows?
I do. I think that's me personally. I do think it's
The Loch Ness
those eels are
monster
pretty
and
big.
man. There's been so many documentaries on them and magazine articles, and then like kids in school talk about it. You grow up with it, and then you see their parents
Yeah.
talking about it, and I don't know, man. Ever since I was little, I heard the stories about Bigfoot. I just always thought it was like Charlie and Joe from down the street somewhere.
Well, see, Bigfoot for me is a is like a really sensitive issue for me because I've literally seen Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time it was skunk ape.
Skunk ape.
Yeah, it was behind the Homestead Air Force Base. When we were kids, we used to go out to back years ago in the 70s. I
Okay.
told you this story. And well, anyway, and behind the flight line, there was these huge fields with like small canals, bigger canals, all these things back up in there. Lots of mangroves and stuff back in there. And
Was that anywhere near Monkey Jungle by chance?
no, Monkey
Oh,
Jungle's
it was
on
like
the other
somewhere. All
side.
right, yeah.
It's way over on the other side. But this is behind the flight line behind Homestead Air Force Base.
I guess at the time they'd be wooded.
And there were like a lot of fields out there, like potato fields and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But yeah, then that's where we used to have go swimming out in Bee Lake and stuff like that. There's this little lake out there with like beehives around it. We called it Bee Lake, otherwise known as a great place to party. So, but yeah, we were having a party out there one time, and I was not the only one who saw this thing that night. And it was walking in a not really a canal, but kind of like a marshy like a drainage ditch, like a large kind of a drainage ditch with like kind of mangroves in it. In other words, you and I could not walk through this. There's just no way you could have done it.
Right.
This thing was running through it.
Oh wow.
And it got like to the edge, and this thing had to have been standing 7.5 foot tall.
That is massive.
It's huge. It was
That's a
huge.
big frame.
I mean, not no 10 foot or nothing like that. Some people say they get to be like 10 foot. The thing I saw, I would say was about 10 or about 7.5 foot tall.
So I mean,
and massive.
Could be something easily explained as like, hey, every so often you get like this crazy off breed that's just massive, like mutated in a way. Like it's just a common mutation for this creature would be it grows to be this massive, and that could
Yeah.
be the explanation. Hey, it's this particular type of primate gets to be this
It was
big.
well, whatever I saw that night was definitely primate. It was more primate than anything else.
I find it
But it was just
fascinating.
huge.
As massive as this thing is, it is elusive as all can be,
Yeah.
which shows high signs of intellect. Because you figure something's big, bad, and dumb, it might not, it would have been captured by now or seen or
Right.
something. But something like that massive is that quick, elusive,
And can disappear
instantly. Like,
and camouflage that quickly.
they probably live real close to their means of travel where they can just go underground or something real fast. I don't know.
This thing,
I've
it
never encountered
disappeared.
anything like
I mean,
that.
it like it just disappeared. And I'm not saying in a puff of smoke or anything like that. It physically disappeared. It took off, but it left behind a horrendous stench.
There you go.
Well, I smelled him before I saw him. And everybody's like, yeah, I was a big old drunk biker. Now I've seen,
It's just Clive.
I've seen drunken bikers, and they look nothing like what I saw. But what I saw definitely had primate characteristics to it,
And a foul stench left behind.
and a very foul stench. But
It might have a pet skunk.
no, I think
He just beats it every once in a while. That's what
I don't even want to think about that.
I mean, this is messed up, thinking
Yeah.
about a skunk just getting punched.
I honestly think it comes from what it eats.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and if
There-
it's big and furry, you know what I'm saying? Like, it probably sometimes get things on it. It's hard fur. It's hard to clean. So he's got to.
yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Especially when it comes to those
But
subjects.
I know what I know what I saw that night. I know what I saw
That
that
would have
night,
creeped me
and
out to see something that
it scared the hell
you
out of
hear
me.
it, you
But
see it, and you see it, and you're like, what in the is that? Like, what am I looking at right now? Your brain's like, I have no clue, dude.
and at the time it was not just me out there. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's something else.
there was several people. I mean, as soon as we got around and we just stood there and we looked, and there it was, just right there. And by the time we were like, "Whoa!" It had turned around and it took off.
Everyone just paused, I bet, for a minute, just trying to figure out what they all just
It was
experienced.
quiet. I mean, I don't even remember anybody screaming. Everybody
Wow,
just
that fast and instant.
stopped. Yeah. And
Lord.
so that was like, I know what I saw that night. I know what everybody saw that night.
Hmm.
And it wasn't a drunken biker. I can tell you that. So
I mean,
was not,
kind of an explanation as to that, man.
because I've never seen a drunken biker walk down the street decently, much less run through mangroves.
I would
like
love to
that.
see a bike that a 7'8" man would be riding. What kind of bike would that be? Like,
I
how
don't know.
extended would that? But I want to see that bike. Now I'm curious. You know any engineers?
I'm not.
We got to get an engineer on this show so I can ask him that question. Be like, hey, so if I was 7'8", right, and I wanted a hog,
What hog would work?
what would it look like?
My little Harley wouldn't hold it. I'll tell you that.
They'd probably charge me just to create that. They're like, listen, I'll sit down and do it, but it's gonna cost you because what kind of?
Oh my God.
Hey, if it's cool enough, I might just have it built and put in a museum somewhere and be like, yo, I came up with that. This show is proof, by the way. Hey.
Let me know when you're done.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
sorry.
All right. So now that's all paranormal.
The bike for sure.
Yeah. Oh, the bike would definitely be in the paranormal on that one.
Supernatural.
Now, a supernatural thing, the difference of it being from a paranormal thing, a supernatural thing has there's no likelihood of any scientific explanation on this. There's not a way to document it because it doesn't, quote, play by the same rules.
So that's why we make movies.
Yeah.
Based on true events.
So many things like supernatural things, there just doesn't seem to be a way to prove it one way or the other, would be to God, to a God or gods,
Mm-hmm.
right? Guardian angels, souls.
Yeah.
Um, these are things that you just, you know,
Which apparently, I believe Stephen Greer said that that's actually a unique trait amongst human beings. That we have spirit, we have soul.
right.
And that's actually a unique trait in the cosmos. It's actually not like a very common thing. It's actually a unique trait in the cosmos.
Right.
And he also said like our ability to not only create but to destroy. I think what he says the Greys themselves are very curious about this because they're very harmonious. They live in a harmonious life.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, 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 very. Anyways, so they find it fascinating that we're not only like that where we can be peaceful, but we can also be war bound,
warlike.
Oh yeah, and we can destroy just as
Yeah.
easy as we can create, and they find that fascinating. I believe it's Stephen Greer that said that. I saw it not that long ago on a Facebook reel.
Yeah.
That guy's fascinating. He says a lot of interesting stuff.
He does.
Yeah.
He really and truly does.
Yeah, a lot of cool podcasts. People coming out and just talking about things, which I like what we're doing here.
Right.
I mean, some people are going to listen and go, I don't believe you. You're full of hocus pocus. There's a bunch of gibberish. But like, yo, not everybody is. Not everything is.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to listen to experiences and go, I went through something similar or whatever. Like minds, like Mike, like-minded people can connect and share, and it's important.
It is.
It's very important.
Um, Religion and supernatural kind of go hand in hand.
Big time. A lot of different instances.
Religion and mythology.
Then there's some things that you can't explain. That might be something in a different dimension, or
Right.
scientifically, you may have to use some sort of pattern of science to figure this part out.
Right.
Where religion just ain't working. It's like, hey, we've had all kinds of people come in, nothing's working. Little Tammy got pushed down the stairs again. Like,
Yeah.
we're tired of little Tammy getting pushed down the stairs.
Whereas Tammy could just be very clumsy.
Hey, see, there you go. You might need to go to the hospital. She probably has something going on.
Maybe Tammy needs glasses. So, but
or the right size shoe.
Or the right size shoe, but it's like, oh, surely something
But
pushed poor Tammy down the stairs.
Just saying, scientifically, you may have to take a certain approach.
So basically, um, something supernatural is beyond our capabilities of understanding, and so it'll be placed in the realm of the divine or the otherworldly, religious kind of an atmosphere. If you can't explain it, oh well, it was a divine intervention. You know, these are what's considered supernatural things.
Where like somebody's healthy, then all of a sudden they have leukemia, and they're like, "Listen,
Or a miracle gets done,
he had
and
leukemia, but now he doesn't."
but now he doesn't. He went to bed with leukemia. He is woken up, and he doesn't have leukemia anymore.
See those special orchids that he breathed in at night? There's your scientific.
Oh, the leukemia killing orchids. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, not too many people know about those.
I don't know about them.
I've never heard of it.
I'm shaking
before.
my head like you're right.
So Christianity includes the ideas of a number of things that can be defined as supernatural. And even though it's not thought of in that way, resurrection, virgin births, um, concepts like grace by definition, and things that don't exist in nature.
Resurrection is that's one for me.
Yeah.
I question whether that truly exists in nature.
Well, I mean, 3/4 of the world do.
I believe in maybe possibilities and continuation of life or elongating of.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like a resurrection of life, I don't know, because you start thinking of the anatomy of the body and like the way everything works, and you go, okay, well, if I was to be revived, like, you know how like, for instance, how like very touchy the brain is. Like any little thing could set something off where you're no longer, like when they do brain surgery and they mess
Right.
one, and now you are in a chair and you can't lift your pinky or something. Now you're screwed forever.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, how touchy the mind is. If you were to die and then come back, I don't know.
Well, you got to look at it into a different respect. How many times have you heard of, and it's happened quite a bit actually, where people die, they're frozen. I mean, they are hard as a rock,
Mm-hmm.
frozen. But an hour later, they're alive. This person had no brain activity. They had nothing. They were frozen solid.
Mm-hmm.
A couple hours down the road, they're alive.
Got me there. I'm just gonna say maybe your components, everything's frozen, so you're preserved at that time of.
But brain activity has stopped.
I don't know. It's just so touchy. It's one of those ones, man.
Got you, didn't I?
Yeah. Either way, I mean, hey, either way.
So I mean, it's supernatural.
It is.
You can't explain it. It happens.
It's just something like you. I guess religion-wise, of Jesus being.
And even the medical experts cannot explain how it happened.
Yeah.
And you hear about people, seriously, are declared dead, and they wake up in the funeral home.
That's a trip.
That's scary.
I could imagine you're having a funeral for you know, for Todd, and all of a sudden Todd wakes up, where's my bud? And you're like, what? He wants a beer.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, that's resurrection has always been one for me that's just like, I don't know. Again,
Is that resurrection?
maybe resurrection's misinterpreted. Maybe there's a other, I don't know. Again, this is just one for
Mhm.
me.
I know it's mind-boggling.
It can be.
It's
You're
mind
trying to make
trying to wrap your mind around this, and
sense
it's
of
like
it.
there is there there is no. It's a circle.
Yeah.
There's no beginning and there's no end to
You
it.
try to find
It
the
just,
absolute answer to something, it's just going to elude you forever, man.
that's it. And that that is supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
Though those are definitely
And a quick descent
supernatural.
into madness, I would say.
Many people have descended into
I could
madness
see
over
it
that.
because I was just going crazy right here. For
Yeah.
five, under 5 minutes, I think, of discussion. It's just like, it's just one of those ones.
This right here can really get you going.
Yeah.
Um, I messed up here.
Hmm. Let me see if I can fix it.
Okay, yeah, if you could do that for me. So we when we discuss things like this, a lot of people do tend to get these things.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you, honey. A lot of people do tend to get these things completely turned around and confused. And in layman discussions, they use these two terms totally interchangeably, and they're not. Okay. There's other terms that we're going to be using as well. Um, there's let me see, supernatural and paranormal, two words that are mean just totally different things. So we've explained supernatural things are those things that are beyond human or scientific understanding, and they may never be understood. But paranormal things are those things that we can understand, but yet may someday be able to explain using science. Paranormal genre includes creatures like zombies, werewolves, aliens.
Hey,
This is
we can have a whole discussion,
on aliens.
which if anybody's listening
Yes.
on that, I want to do something like that. You know, really, that'd be a fun one to do. Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that when we get
Sit down and brainstorm a
Blaine.
little bit.
We get Blaine on the show.
Ooh.
We're going to have, yeah, Blaine's a real good one. Blaine Rohan. Blaine's going to be coming to our show about at least once a month and talking about things. And we got to bring this up with Blaine. Aliens.
Oh, I got some good ones.
Yeah.
Not just on aliens, but like, you know, Egyptians and all kinds, man.
Right.
I could talk someone's head off.
So, so the paranormal, like we're saying, werewolves, aliens, ghosts.
Kitty here says that she loves that about giant pandas. I mean, rewinding back to the giant panda, she loved the giant panda. She said so herself.
Oh, I love that giant pandas. Just for you, Kitty.
Just
It's
for you.
just for you. She loves pandas.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely loves pandas.
She is a panda.
Kitty's our panda. So, and phenomena like telepathy, telepathy,
Jalapeno.
telepathy, and time travel.
Telepathy.
Telepathy. Blah, 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 blah.
Tongue twister.
Man, I'm telling you,
It's been a long day.
it has been. It certainly has been. So, I mean, that right there is something to be able to kind of wrap your head around, seeing how things can really, where the meaning is, and looking at it into the set, it's like, is this paranormal? Is this, you know, supernatural? Where does it? Now, here's another one. Okay, this is going to get you guys going too. There's another terminology. and it's preternatural. Preternatural. Now, what is preternatural versus the paranormal and the supernatural? So, preternatural, it's what they say, it's kind of like suspended between the mundane and the miraculous.
Hmm.
So it's often used to distinguish the marvels or deception, trickery. A lot of times it's attributed to witchcraft.
Ooh.
It's preternatural. It's beyond nature. So
I can tell you in situations like that where they go experimenting, they start bringing some real bad juju into the world.
they do. They do.
It becomes everybody else's problem. Boy.
Well, it's like abnormal. It's not normal. It's out of sync with something else. Um, if like the example would be if you hear a preternatural dog barking, it sounds like a police siren instead of a howl.
Ghost cat.
Ghost cat.
Ghost cat.
Um, so it if you like an example to lift a car up or you lift up a truck, there they'll say that you have preternatural strength.
I get it.
You get that? I know it gets confusing when you get into all these different
Yeah. Terminologies,
the
right?
terminology. Yeah. So praetor is the Latin word for praetor, like a praetor, which means beyond, or something preternatural is beyond nature. So it's less commonly used than unnatural or supernatural, but it basically means the same thing.
So otherworldly.
Otherworldly, yes. So I mean, it's just to confuse you further. So, but I thought that that was really interesting because it's like there's so many choices of language to use in something, and it's like it becomes confused. It's confusing enough, the situation as it is, versus the language that people are using to describe this, and they're interchanging words that actually don't mean the same thing into the same
It's like misinformed. Leads to
misinformed.
misinformation.
And I think that has got a lot to do with a lot of the confusion that comes in later on as well.
It's all
Um,
really confusing, especially if you're new to it. You just encountered this for the first time. It's all confusing.
it is.
It's all confusing. You're just trying to make sense of it.
Yeah. So so we can pretty much say that something is unnatural or supernatural happening could be preternatural. Preternatural.
You know what we're gonna do after this? We're gonna sit down, and I'm gonna let you. We're gonna put the word back into Google, and I'm gonna hit the play button, and it's gonna explain it over and over and over.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear. I'm curious.
Well, preternatural creatures, the same thing. Werewolves, zombies, wolves, ghosts. These are all preternatural. And like they were just saying, supernatural and preternatural are basically the same thing, not to be confused with paranormal.
Got you.
Okay. So, but a lot of times something that's paranormal is called preternatural, and it's not. I would suck as a teacher.
As a teacher,
Yeah. What are you shaking your head for?
oh, I told you I do that a lot. I do that a lot.
Don't shake your head.
I don't know how good I'd be in a debate if I'm just constantly doing this. And I don't know, Mom. Sometimes I have bad social skills. I'm glad I'm acknowledging it now on the radio show because I have
Yeah, it's
bad.
just between us.
It takes something like this for me to understand.
It's just between us, honey. Don't worry about
You know that's not true.
it.
I know that's not true.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think those are the really the biggest the, the biggest differences. And but along with the paranormal goes into, it comes into the religion, cryptozoology, you know. Um it it's so vast. I mean, you don't really realize how vast it is until you start doing something like this.
Oh yeah, doing
And
research,
when you're
research, and
doing the
research.
research on it, it's like, oh my God, you know,
It's what ends up consuming people's lives.
it is.
They dedicate it to all this research and putting things together. You know, it's important work either way. You know, for someone to make an understanding off of later. You know, or to
Hmm.
continue that work if they find, hey, this work needs to be continued to make a explanation of things.
That's right. Um, but I think it's important because you have to, in order to really study something like this, and in order for you to really be able to understand what's going on and to show other people that you do have an understanding of what's going on, is that you have to use the terminology correctly. Um, Supernatural, some deny the reality of one or both supernatural realms, claiming the natural world is all that exists.
Mm.
Supernatural phenomena are pseudoscientific or unscientific. So,
All points, I guess. Either way you look at it, this is a subject you're going to be talking on and trying to make understanding of. No matter how,
absolutely.
there's no absolute answer for the, until there's an absolute answer, and it is absolute. I mean, rock solid.
Right.
It's always going to be a subject you're going to question no matter what, talked about no matter what, till it's explained. I don't know about one being the only thing to exist because that could be saying the same thing as we're the only species to exist or we're the only thing in this whole cosmos to exist. You can't say there's only one thing. It's kind of, and something this vast to say there's just one. No,
Right.
no, come on, come
Right.
on. That's too simple. That sounds to me like just lazy. Like I don't want to go beyond this or explain anything further. Like it's either this or nothing. It's nerf or nothing. Come on.
I agree. I agree. Um, so, an adjective would be this house is haunted by supernatural forces,
Hmm.
which would be it's neither visible nor measurable.
Man,
So, how
we
is
go
there
off feelings sometimes when we walk in a place. You feel pressure.
right?
That
That's not measurable.
uh, we had a little weird for a second. The skin standing or skin standing, your hair standing
Right.
straight up. You know that electrical. Felt that plenty of damn times walking in a place, and I'm like, yo, I'm here.
Right.
Some
And unfortunately, it's like we're all Okay, everybody, we are back again. Sorry about that. Um, okay, so um, we're just still trying to work out the way this thing works. So kind of bear with us a little bit with this. So I think that we've pretty much discussed, you know, paranormal versus supernatural versus preternatural, natural, which is really on the same terms of supernatural, um, which are basically pseudoscience that can't. It can't be.
I'm okay with certain pseudosciences.
Yeah. So that's what's going on there. Um, but like I said, it's just really, really important to be able to use it in the right context, because people who really, really, really do understand this field, if you don't use it in the right context, they're like, what? You know,
It confuses them.
it confuses them. So, um, but I think that's just basically the easiest way to be able to explain it. Um, so now there's also something else here, and that is fantasy. Okay, so we're getting into something different. Fantasy and supernatural, they seem to be looked at in the same genre, and they're not. Especially on like TV shows and stuff like that. You know, you'll see the supernatural and fantasies. They're all combined up in one.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's not. Fantasy is something that takes place in another world where these fantastical creatures and magic. It's all normal there. It's a realm of normalcy for this, and whereas supernatural fiction, it highlights supernatural creatures or happenings that are in the real world.
Gotcha.
So so whenever you're experiencing these fantasy things like, you know,
Dragons, fairies.
yeah, well, fae is still a debatable issue.
True.
So, but I gotta tell you, Pegasus and Medusas, and to me, that's also another part of it, which is mythology.
Could be misunderstood technology too.
It could be. So, but you know, just remember, supernatural refers to phenomena that's always beyond the realm of scientific explanation, God, souls, afterlives, things like that. But fantasy is something that is world. It's a world of imagination, and it takes place in the world of imagination.
Willy Wonka.
The Hobbit.
Oh, I was just going to press on that. I mean, obviously Harry Potter, Game of Thrones,
You know,
House of the Dragon.
these are very fascinating, but these are also in just fantastical worlds. So, a lot of things that we deal with is not that at all. People have the idea sometimes that that's what they are, but there are people who don't tend to understand what's going on. A lot of people are very comfortable. I don't know if you've ever thought about it like this. They're very comfortable accepting the fact that paranormal activity, supernatural activity, does not exist. Period. That's all that there is to it.
Oh yeah,
So if I don't believe that it exists, it doesn't exist.
I'd love to ask them if their problems continue or not. Hey, is it still happening
Well,
after like 20 years of not believing in it? Oh, your dishwasher still randomly turns on at night. Okay.
well, that could be an electrical problem.
Well, I guess your sliding glass doors randomly open and close.
Could be the wind.
That could be a thief. You've
That
just
could
been
be
steadily stealing from
that
me
could
for
be your
20 years.
neighbor.
Yeah, just randomly taking
Or is
from
that
you for
just on
20
our
years.
street?
I don't know. We've lived in some very questionable places.
We
Wow. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, I've always been kind of curious about people that try to just pass it off as just that's not it's not real. It's not real. It's like, listen, man, if you're being snatched out of your bed at night and you wake up in the bathroom
yeah.
and you have no idea why, maybe you should start
There was no tornado last night, so
your sliding glass door open. that that neighbor again. He took me out of my bed.
damn neighbor. I hate that neighbor.
Find out you've been put on TikTok, and they're like, we've been torturing this guy for 20 years, but tonight we're putting him in his own bathroom. We may violate
Oh
some
my
laws, but we
God.
don't care. It's all for you, the viewers.
Yeah, I tell you. So, and this is another thing that I mean, it's just like it just keeps going on and on and on, and portals,
Oh man,
ultra terrestrials,
ultra terrestrials.
ultra terrestrials.
Well, I do know. I think this was also said by Stephen Greer. He stated that if you were able to travel in space, that means that you were able to travel through dimensions.
Right.
It means you can travel places where nothing else really can. And to be honest with you, it's kind of I was kind of taken by it when I heard about it. I'm like, well, if you could travel through things like that, you could totally live amongst a civilization, and they had no idea. They'd have no clue you were even there because you live somewhere where they cannot see or interact with at all, but you can interact with them.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
That's terrifying. This whole time I've been laying in the bubble bath, and something could be sitting there the whole time going, watching me take a bubble bath. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I
I
don't
do.
know. You know that feeling when you're randomly being watched and you're like, you're outside just relaxing and you're just like, man, I feel like I'm being stared at. It's not because you're actually being, it could be because there's something somewhere else interacting in your body's natural defenses are like, yo, there's something going on.
And it's also been proven that electrical lines can create that feeling. High electrical fields can create that.
Well, we have 0 point energy around us at all times.
Yeah.
Every Greer said this too. A small little cubic inch, very, very tiny. Anywhere, even in any room you can think of, even right now in this room, small little cubic tiny inch, itty bitty little thing about yay big, can have enough power to actually power all of the U.S. for a certain period of time. Yeah, small little cubic inch has enough energy in it. That's how much energy is around us at all. That's how much energy is around us at all points of time. There's that much. Tesla even stated that the planet we live on is just a natural powerhouse of electricity. Everything. I think he called it. What did Greer called it? He had a specific terminology, electromagnetic something that he called it. I sound like a fool right now because I'm talking about it and I don't have the exact thing down, but something we'll press on later.
Exactly. Well, and we will too, and we definitely will.
Real fascinating stuff, let me tell you.
And here's where also something is like ufology.
There it is.
What is paranormal, and what is paranormal activity, and what is alien abduction?
Oh man. Oh,
That's a big one.
That's
A lot of people don't seem to understand that a lot of this the two are so similar. What was that? They made that movie. What was it? The fourth kind.
Oh,
Oh, that terrified me.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you, the first time
Right?
I saw it, I was like, man, look. I mean, look what happened.
Yeah, yeah,
Cuckoo.
yeah.
Like,
Because I mean, this lady,
creepy.
yeah. Um, because these people come out of this, if they do come back, they come out and it's like the experiences that they had
Yeah.
were so close to paranormal activity.
They went through
So
something so
close.
traumatizing in that experience that it had to be erased from them.
Yeah.
And then when they started to relive it, they started to mentally collapse from it. That's how goofed up it all is. And it's like, could you imagine, you know, I don't even want to imagine because I feel like maybe you're just inviting bad juju in when you even think about it. Go to sleep at night, all of a sudden a bright light outside of my house
That's the neighbors again.
or the police
Chasing the neighbors.
chasing the neighbors. We think they're in your yard, not my
That
yard.
would be the helicopter lights.
There's UFOs, Mama. There's UFOs.
Don't get me wrong, we live in an okay neighborhood. It's
Oh yeah,
just
yeah. But if,
some of our neighbors are questionable.
I know if there's a helicopter over the top of our place, it'll rattle so hard. I think we were being abducted.
Oh my
I
god.
woke up in the just from a straight up deep sleep. You know.
So you're going to think you're abducted. I'm just thinking it's the damn neighbors again.
Well, I'm gonna be going over and grabbing the kids and everything. It's all right. I've been through this before. They brought me back.
Our neighbors have desensitized us. Um,
Oh man, yeah.
okay, and here and have the next level up, please. Possession.
Yeah. I've never experienced it. I've again, that's something I've never experienced as far as like actually like being there for someone that was going, like I don't think I'd want to be though. That's got to be some. I couldn't imagine a priest walking into it, into having to do an exorcism. What the hell is going
It's
through your
scary.
mind?
I mean, but there are there's all these certain levels that each level is so complex
Yeah,
and on its own, all on its own. But when you layer these things, you know, and then you start to look at it as a whole, it's mind boggling. It really is. It's just mind boggling. And it's like trying to it's like trying to learn a language, a whole nother language. And
well, yeah, especially when you hear the possessed using other languages.
there's that.
How do you explain that? That's just something. That's just literally using them as a vessel. It's coming through.
Well, absolutely.
You know, I don't know how many recorded, like actual factual ones they have of that. That would be something I'd like to look into. Like how many, like this is like, yo, this is dog, this is for real. Like this happened. This is the recording of it. Like this is little Billy speaking Hebrew.
Well, I mean, there's many count. Yeah, there
you know,
there are many documented cases of that. Um, many actually, more so than we think.
find that fascinating. That there's still again, they go to battle with something like that. I am
Yeah.
walking into this room, into the unknown. Little Billy is straight up possessed by some super demonic force that I got to get rid of. I mean, like, wow, man, it's fascinating.
And then big
Shadow people.
shadow people.
So similar to skinwalkers.
Skinwalker.
Well, no, skinwalkers. Those are shapeshifters.
Those are shapeshifters.
Shapeshifters.
Um,
Shadow people.
it's like
Oh, like for instance, what we would say, for instance, you see a figure and you're like, I just saw something move. I could have
exactly. Not really any defined features, but it appears to be a shadow, but it moves on its own accord.
apparitions.
Apparitions, not really. A shadow person can just be an entity all of its own.
So we're talking about like an actual entity, like Peter Pan shadow type thing, a mind of
Yeah.
its own. Sure.
Like what we caught at Camp 31.
I wasn't there for that, but
Yeah.
I do remember the
We caught
videos.
4 shadow children running on a wall and didn't even notice it until the next day.
That place is
That place is wild.
super wild.
That place
a
is
lot
wild.
of activity,
And
which we have something coming up soon. A lot of activity that we're getting ready
yes,
to walk into.
yes, yes, we are. I'm excited about that.
I'm nervous in a way, but I am super excited too because an experience is an experience, you know. Try to capture as much of it, and we'll go through
Yeah.
it and edit it what
It,
we need to edit.
you know, it's interesting. It's like when we're doing it, there's no time to be afraid. You ever notice that?
Nah, you got to be thinking clearly, straight up.
Always on your toes. It's like whenever I go in and do an investigation, I can sit back and laugh about it later or think about the danger of it later. But really, when I'm doing it, I'm so concerned with document documenting exactly what I'm seeing and only what I'm seeing,
Right.
and not to put my personal thoughts or feelings into it. My personal thoughts and feelings, to me, that doesn't belong in an investigation. What belongs in an investigation is exactly what you're experiencing, nothing more, nothing less.
And
Exactly what you're
I'm
experiencing.
firm with debunking as well. If you
Mhm.
capture something, definitely try to do your best to debunk it. You know, hey,
Right.
let me try to what I saw, maybe it wasn't real. Let me go into that room, let me look for error, let me look for this, let me look for that. Can't explain it any other way than you got something that's for real, for real. That's
Yeah.
fun. That's
Yeah.
fun is when you got it and you're like, yeah, have fun explaining that. Go ahead, TikTok.
Yeah.
Explain this.
But to me, documentation is like first and foremost in
It's
something
so
like that,
important.
because a lot of what you're experiencing and a lot of what you're documenting may not just pertain to that one day. It
Could
it
be somebody experienced the same thing you did like 2
exactly,
weeks ago, 2 years ago, 20 years ago.
exactly. So and how does your experience tie into somebody else's experience?
Or did you have the same exact one? That would mean this is a reoccurring thing. You know, maybe
It's
this
important.
entity stuck in a time loop.
It's important. It's all important because you piece it all together like chapters in a book.
It's an interesting puzzle.
It is.
I compare
So
walking into some of these situations, at least for me, it's a battle of wits because you really got to
yeah,
mentally be prepared for some of these things. You know, where you're not like psyching yourself out
right.
because it's so easy to do. You get twisted up real quick. And kind of in a way you become a problem for the rest of the team too.
When you get too involved in
Yeah,
yourself, yeah, you do.
you got to sit down, sit it out for a little bit, and maybe walk away from the
You need
site.
to remove yourself from the site.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And I've asked people several times to do exactly that because it's like you can kind of see it starting to happen with them.
Well, it's a slow growth.
And it's like you need to step away. You know, even if it's just for 15 or 20 minutes, you need to step away.
Hey, there's some people out there too that they'll use those kind of individuals as bait,
Absolutely.
and that's actually really horrible. But I've seen it before where they'll use someone as a catalyst,
Mm-hmm.
knowing how weak with, and I'm not trying to knock on anybody. Go, you're weak, you know, knowing that they'll have that collapse during that investigation, going, he's the perfect or he or she the perfect catalyst for this, and stick them in this room and let's see what we get on video, you know, and that's kind of jacked up, but they'll do it just to see what they capture on video. I'm not about to send Todd to go into a
No,
kitchen and have a chair thrown at him
no.
for a couple of likes. That's
I'm
just
not going
goofed
to
up,
get somebody hurt or somebody
mentally scarred
mentally
forever.
scarred or traumatized. It's like I'm not going to use anybody as
You
bait.
send someone to a haunted bathroom, now they can no longer use public restrooms. You did that to them.
Yeah,
You're a
exactly.
jerk.
No, we're not going to do that.
You're a
That's
jerk.
one thing I've always been really firm with. There's no reason to take, you know, ridiculous risks with someone's health or
It's
well-being.
horrible.
It's just
That's a good subject, I think, for maybe one is like maybe talk about some of the people that got, you know, a little messed up in some of these. I'm sure there's plenty of them where some private, even some from famous TV shows.
A lot of them from famous TV.
They're like, yo, I'm no longer doing this because so and so told me to go into this room, all for likes and stuff, and I got a pot thrown at me. I'm never going anywhere.
Yeah.
Now they can't go into a pottery barn. These things happen.
They're ruined. Pottery barn.
Now they have to adjust their daily lives. Can you imagine that? You can't go into a certain section of a store, Walmart, anywhere. You're scared of appliances. Got attacked by a refrigerator. I didn't need to know about it. I'm just saying,
It's a whole new subject of psychology.
Can you imagine having to go to talk to somebody about that? Like, I was in this haunted bathroom, man, and the sink turned on. Now I can't.
Everybody sinks.
I can't use a public urinal anymore because of it. That's horrible. That you're adjust people. No, that's just horrible. I couldn't use anybody like that for views.
I couldn't either. No,
Those poor people.
It just wouldn't work. But I mean that's irresponsible anyway. So, but there are people out there that do it. But
set somebody up for something like that, though.
No, I'm not going to do that.
We've been through some pretty terrifying things. I've been through some pretty terrifying things, and I couldn't imagine sending one of my friends in there to be like, "Yo, man, you should go spend a night in there." Why are these cameras set up around me? No, don't worry about that. Just spend the night in there. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think in my particular case, I mean, you and Sean are my sons. So as a mom, I don't want to put my sons into direct harm's way.
I mean, what mother would?
You'd be surprised.
I am.
Talking about
I see them all the time on the news in jumpsuits with silver bracelets, and I see what they do, and I am like really surprised by some of them. I'm just like, you're horrible. I'm horrible.
Jumpsuits and silver bracelets.
We'll talk about it later.
I think that's a subject for another night.
So. Yeah, but not for the radio show.
But I know it is true. I mean, it's different. Well, I don't know. I trust you guys now because we've investigated together and everything, and you guys aren't kids, and you guys have grown up around this. But I'm still, as a mom, I'm not going to send my kids out, especially into a place that I'm worried about your welfare.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm the first one to tell you guys, Devin, I think you need to back off.
I promise you that I'm the first one to tell you, Mom, I'm going to back off.
Yeah, you are. And Sean has backed out before, too. He's like,
I know when I'm out of my depth
do that.
And I'm not going any further. It's like, hey, this is beyond me. And I'm not going to subject myself to something that I'm bringing home to my children or to my family. No
That's huge.
way.
That's huge.
For me, that attachment is huge. Having something take interest in you, no, thank you. No, thank you. It's kind of like that 70s show when Red's telling Kelso how he takes a personal interest in his son, Eric Foreman.
Yes.
And he's like, you don't want me to take a personal interest in you. I apply that to some of these investigations because it's just like, you don't want a ghost like Red Foreman crawling up your ass.
No. No, you don't.
You can't get rid of them. But
it happens
all the time. They go walking into this, and now they've got this thing attached and stuck to them, and they go through such traumatic experiences. Now their house, where they live,
family.
Oh, man, I draw the line on children, man. When your kids start having problems because of what you're doing. Yeah, I kind of draw the line there.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of messed up how some of these entities will go after children.
Absolutely.
It's like they have no chill. There is no...
Well, it's a way to get through to you.
Got my attention, you go through my children. I'm looking to go through a dimension of put a whooping on you, open up a stone cold stunner.
So, so as we're talking about that shadow people, a lot of people think are alien forms. Yeah. I don't. I believe that they're two different things, because I have seen shadow people that have nothing to do. It has to do with more of a spiritual type of a situation versus an alien type of a situation.
Could just be how they want to be seen.
Well, it could.
Just their way of altering what you're looking at, and this is how they want to be seen.
And this is where it goes into another into the other discussion of, is it alien encounter, or is it shadow people? Is it paranormal form
Yeah, when
versus alien? It's so intermixed and it's so separate at the same time.
you got to categorize it, or to
Sometimes you can't.
figure out what you're going through. Is this paranormal or is this some other kind of encounter?
Well, there's just so many similarities between, especially when that movie, The Fourth Kind, is based on a lot of facts of this particular psychiatrist, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was a psychiatrist, and she had a very, very, very good grasp on herself and of the world around her, and yet it still got in.
Well, she ended up making contact.
She made contact,
You know,
and
it's
that
weird.
completely just messed her up. And
I mean, this, I'm not even in front, man. Every time I think about it, like I said, my hairs are standing up.
it's frightening, for some of you guys out there that have never watched this particular movie, The Fourth Kind. Really, it makes you think, because there are definitely things out there that
The
are a
missing,
lot closer than
the
you
missing
think they are.
people part.
Yeah, the
When
missing people part.
that
That's
part trips
horrible.
me out every
It-
time I see it, where it says, the places with the most missing people, and how Alaska is one of, the
Mhm.
highest. Miami,
Miami.
but well, we we're familiar with South
Yeah.
Florida, so some of those things I can explain why people are missing. Um,
Well, yeah.
there's some crazy things that happen down there, but at the end of the day, though, when you start saying, you know, people are disappearing, and these are cold cases, we don't know what's happening to them. There's a massive number of them, and it's just frightening. That is terrifying.
Um, well, on the one, on the research that we're doing at all, it does say, might shadow people simply be gray aliens, but in another form, almost like a shape shifting of energies.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Think of,
It is. It's different.
or it could be a technology that they're using to
That, um,
holograms or something of the
or
sort,
maybe even the gray aliens themselves isn't.
have the ability to,
That's not their true form.
right? Yeah.
So
Hey, who knows?
So this is why it's better to understand what both aliens and other strange incidents of the paranormal actually are, in order to understand that particular manifestation of energy.
Right.
So, and Tesla, according to Tesla, the secrets of the universe lay in understanding energy, frequency, and
Vibrations.
which, how many times have we talked about the vibrations?
Tons of times.
Tons of times.
Residual energies and things that are left behind.
Exactly.
Radiation that's left. That was something that the energy that's left behind, even in traumatic events. It's radiation.
Right.
And they ended up developing a machine, chronovisor, that I believe could observe radiation, and that's how they were able to see past events that happened way back when, is because they were able to use the radiation that was left behind, and they were able to see events kind of similar, if you think about it, with the paranormal, where if someone went through a super traumatic event, even someone being scared beyond their wits would leave a type of energy behind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were able to, for certain people that can walk into a room and feel something, that pressure, or they're able to see things, I think that could be a possible reason why they're able to encode and decode this radiation that's
Right.
left behind. Either it goes through the mind, or it goes through a feeling or something, and then boom, you're tuned into it. That's where they say it's a gift or something. It's actually the mind just programming. You're able to do this because your mind is programmed to do it. Maybe you programmed yourself, you aren't even aware of it. Something to think about, I guess.
It is. No, it really is. And It's that connection that we were just talking about between ghosts and aliens.
Hmm.
Is there a connection between a ghost and an alien? You know, are we talking about the different dimensions? Because people look at time, and I do agree with the theory that time is not sequential.
Well, they say
I
time is like one of the only true forms of measurement, where they say time is actually a true form of measurement. I saw uh, one of those reels I saw it was a month or two back, where they say time is one of the only true forms of measurement that they have. But
But then again, I don't see time as being linear.
mm,
And I think that they've even discussed it as
well,
um, time is not linear.
they propose, I believe, where everything's happening all at once.
It's stacked.
Yeah.
It's stacked. And it's interesting because when they're talking about time travel, is it actually time travel, or is it just a travel between this dimension into this dimension? It's happening at the very same time, but it's two different dimensions, and you're just able to break through that wall between the two,
Hmm.
right? So you're not going back in time, you're not going forward in time, you're actually going just in between the walls of two different, you know, dimensions.
Wow, it's really something that can open you up.
Yeah,
If you start to really think about it and try to make sense of it, yeah, it can open you up to all kinds of possibilities.
absolutely. So um, basically, what we're looking at is that the paranormal world, as investigators, what we do, you know, people look at us, oh, you're a ghost hunter. No, I'm not. I'm not hunting a ghost. I, I don't hunt them. We research them. We 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 do that. We do look for um, clues. We look for answers. We don't hunt ghosts. Um,
Yeah, for real. I feel like sometimes people think we're like, uh, what's that guy's name? Van Helsing.
Van Helsing.
They
Yeah,
think we come with like a kit,
yeah.
crossbow,
Got
holy
our kit
water,
with us.
some sice or something. I don't know. They think we come with this whole briefcase full of tools to go to war.
We really don't do that.
I,
But what we do is that we have equipment that helps us to locate. It helps us to distinguish what is different things that we're
yeah.
seeing, you know,
Today it's cameras and the spirit boxes and
SLS.
all that's yeah, that stuff's fun too. All
Yeah,
that, that's how advanced technology's gotten too for
yeah,
anybody to get their hands on these things. And I hope one day they're able to come up with some of the things that we talked about. With trying to pick up on certain energies that's left behind in these places. It'd be really cool to
absolutely.
see if they could use that kind of technology to make sense of some of these things.
Absolutely. So, you know, basically, in order to do what we're doing, you have to really know a little bit about a lot of different things, and a lot of it comes from experience. The only way to get the experience is to go out there and be consistent. Do this, do it with an open mind,
Do your
and
homework.
do your homework.
It's the most important
Absolutely.
thing is do your homework.
Absolutely. Watch a lot of these different teams.
Study the places you're going to big time. The
Do your
lore,
research on it.
top to bottom.
Yeah, do your research on these places before you go in there. But we need a lot more people doing this, and not just doing it just for the thrill of doing it. Um, because we've actually gone into places, and the spiritual activity that's in there has actually stated they're about done with it. You know, the questions are old. Who are you? What's your name? You know, how did you die? They're tired of it. The thrill is gone. You know, it's just now it's just trying to find out what is going on into a particular is really where we want the answers to it. And we're not just those people that go into a spooky house and get scared for the thrill of it. It's just that's not what's going on here anymore.
Doesn't make sense to go and do
It
something.
doesn't
Those
make
are the
any
people that
sense
just
to
do it
me
for
at all.
likes.
No.
You know, with anything,
So-
they kind of in a way discredit.
They do. They're very discrediting. So, there's people like us, and of course, Web Paranormal was the team that we work with. Amazing group of people. Well, Lee Triana Brown
You end up
with
finding,
Repossessed. She's wonderful.
yeah.
There's so many people out there that do just a fabulous job, and it's just a huge kudos for me. I mean, love working with you, love being around you, and love being able to compare these notes. And but in any case, I hope that we've enlightened you a little bit more about the differences in these this different terminology as to what it means. And this is what we try to do. We try to enlighten people out there as to what's going on. And the deeper that you get into something like this, the more complicated it seems. Um, but it's all the learning experience. It's all about what's going on out there, and it helped you to be able to get down to the basics of it, and pin something down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we sure do enjoy talking to you guys and trying to fill you in on this kind of stuff. Um,
I only show up every once in a blue moon.
yes, you do. I like having you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so
I like having the opportunity to jump on and babble,
absolutely,
crack a joke or two.
got to get you on with Blaine's on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have. I got to contact Blaine and see when's the next time I can get him.
I'd like to just talk for a little bit. At least figure out some good subjects that we'll jump on. And yeah,
Blaine's been doing it a long time too.
I have been a conspiracy theorist and just an avid researcher of all kinds of rant. If there's something out there where someone has some sort of explanation for it, I check it out.
Yeah.
It's even if it's so far fetched, you're like, there's no way. It's still worth checking it out.
Absolutely.
And going, well, it could be, it couldn't be. I'll compare notes. Yeah. Anyways.
So we're going to wrap up this show for the night. And these are the differences between paranormal, supernatural, preternatural, and pseudoscience. Um,
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. And as the conversation went on, you saw how very diverse this entire subject is, and one subject leads into another subject that goes into another one, and it's just like a ball. It just keeps on rolling and getting more and more and more intricate. And the entire thing is utterly fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. So join us again next week, and we're going to have another subject, and we're going to come up with something good here.
I definitely need to come up with something with this part of my hair being so frizzy. I've noticed it this whole time that we've been on here.
Yeah.
My hair being a total frizz fest.
That would be preternatural. National.
We need to touch on that. Off air.
Off air. Thank you so much, you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon. Every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. It's Spooky Things with Debbie and Devin. And we'll be talking to you real soon, you guys. You guys take care. Bye-bye now.